Hello, it's Mama, and Mama has a new story for you today. And this happens to be one of my favorite stories. I try to read some of my favorite ones that I've had and the ones that I like to share with some of the kids. I particularly like this story, Miss Rumphius, because Miss Rumphius has been around for a long time. And these flowers grow in Maine. They're called lupins. And Mama loves flowers. As you know, I always have flowers, don't I, around me. So they make me happy. The colors make me happy. The smells make me happy. I like to water them. I like to see them grow. I like to cut them and put them in vases. So these particular flowers, the lupins, they smell a little bit to me like salt and pepper together. So if you've ever smelled salt and pepper together, I think that's what the lupins smell like. They're all over Maine. And a long time ago, Mama met this Barbara Cooney, who wrote the story. She's written quite a few stories about Maine. And so that made it kind of special to meet her too. Miss Rumphius. The Lupin lady lives in a small house overlooking the sea. In between the rocks around her house grow blue and purple and rose-colored flowers. The Lupin lady is little and old, but she has not always been that way. I know because she's my great aunt. And she told me so. And once upon a time, she was a little girl named Alice who lived in a city by the sea. From the front stoop, she could see the wharves and the bristling masts of the tall ships. And many years ago, her grandfather had come to America on a sailing ship. Now, he worked at the bottom of the house making figureheads for the prows of ships. He made Indians out of wood and put them in the front of cigar stores. And for Alice's grandfather, he was an artist. He painted pictures, too, of sailing ships and things across the sea. And when he was busy, Alice helped him put in the skies. And there she is, painting. In the evening, Alice sat on her grandfather's knee and listened to the stories of faraway places. When he had finished, Alice would say, "When I grow up, I'm going to go to faraway places. And when I grow old, I will live beside the sea." "That is all very well, little Alice," said her grandfather, "but there is a third thing you must do." "Well, what is that?" asked Alice. "You must do something to make the world more beautiful," said her grandfather. "All right," said Alice, but she didn't know what that could be. In the meantime, Alice got up, washed her face, ate her oatmeal for breakfast, and she went to school and came home and did her homework. And pretty soon, she was grown up. Then, my great aunt Alice set out to do 3 things that she had told her grandfather she was going to do. She went to live in another city far from the sea and the salt air. There she worked in a library and dusted books and helped them from getting all mixed up. And some of the books told her about faraway places. People now called her Miss Rumphius. Aha, that's the title of the story. Sometimes she went to the conservatory in the middle of the park. When she stepped inside on a wintry day, the warm, moist air wrapped itself around her and the sweet smell of jasmine filled her nose. "This is almost like a tropical island," said Miss Rumphius, "but not quite." So Miss Rumphius went to a real tropical island where people kept cockatoos and monkeys as pets. She walked on the long beaches picking up beautiful shells, and one day she met Bappa Raja, king of a fishing village. "You must be tired," he said. "Come into my house and rest." So Miss Rumphius went in and met the Bappa Raja's wife. The Bappa Raja himself fetched a green coconut and cut a slice off the top so Miss Rumphius could drink the coconut water inside. Before she left, The Baparaja gave her a beautiful mother-of-pearl shell on which he had painted a bird of paradise and the words, "You will always remain in my heart." "You will always remain in my heart, too," said Miss Rumphius. My great-aunt, Miss Alice Rumphius, climbed tall mountains where the snow never melted. She went through jungles and across deserts. She saw lions playing and kangaroos jumping, and everywhere she made friends she would never forget. Finally, she came to the land of the lotus eaters, and there, getting off a camel, she hurt her back. "Oh, what a foolish thing to do," said Miss Rumphius. "Well, I certainly have seen faraway places. Maybe it's time to find my place by the sea." And it was, and she did. Well, from the porch of her new house, Miss Rumphius watched the sun come up. She watched it across the heavens and sparkle on the water, and she saw it in the evening. She started a little garden among the rocks and surrounded her house as she planted a few flower seeds in the stony ground. Miss Rumphius was almost perfectly happy. "But there's just still one more thing I have to do," she said. "I have to do something to make the world more beautiful." "But what?" "That world already is pretty nice," she thought, looking out over the ocean. The next day, Miss Rumphius was not feeling very well. Her back was bothering her again, and she had to stay in bed most of the day. The flowers she had planted the summer before had come up and bloomed in spite of the stony ground. She could see them from her bedroom window. They were blue and purple and rose-colored. They're right here. "Lupines," said Miss Rumphius with satisfaction. Or you can call them lupins, as they called them when I was little. I don't know, a lot of people call them lupines. I don't know. "I have always loved lupins the best. I wish I would plant more seeds this summer so I could still have more flowers next year." But she wasn't able to. Now, some of you are probably thinking, "I've seen those flowers before. I've seen those lupins growing, and they grow in these clusters, and they grow all in the fields. And they grow a lot along the highway." After a hard winter, spring came, and Miss Rumphius was feeling much better. Now she could take long walks again. One afternoon, she started to go up and over the hill, where she had not been for a long time. "I don't believe my eyes." When she got to the top, on the other side of the hill, was a large patch of blue, purple, and rose-colored lupins. Was the wind," she said as she knelt in delight. "It was the wind that brought the seeds from my garden all the way here. And the birds must have helped." Then Miss Rumphius had a wonderful idea. Now, what do you think her idea was? Let me think. I think you've got it. She hurried home and got her seed out of her catalogs. She sent off to the best seed houses for 5 bushels of lupin seeds. That's a lot of seeds. All that summer, Miss Rumphius had her pockets full of seeds. She wandered over fields, and she was pushing and throwing those lupin seeds. She scattered the seeds all along the highways. Aha! That's where they came from. And down across the country lanes, she flung handfuls of them out of the schoolhouse and in back of the church, and she tossed them into the hollows and along the stone walls. Her back didn't seem to hurt anymore, and now some people were calling her that crazy old lady. Who would think that? That looks a little bit like where Mama lives, doesn't it? That may be the ocean. Who knows? Maybe Miss Rumphius was spreading lupins here. The next spring, there were lupins everywhere. Fields and hillsides were covered with blue and purple and rose-colored flowers. They bloomed along the highways and down the lanes. There were bright patches laying around the schoolhouse and the back of the church, and down the hollows, and the stone walls grew beautiful with flowers. Look at them. They're all over. I love them by the stone walls. Aren't they beautiful? But Miss Rumphius had done the third most difficult thing of all. My great aunt Alice, the Miss Rumphius, is now very old. Oh, there she is. Her hair is very white, and every year there are more and more lupins. Now they call her the Lupin Lady. Sometimes my friends stand with me outside her gate, curious to see the old lady who planted all the fields of lupins. And when she invites us in, they always come slowly. They think she's the oldest woman in the world. Often she tells us stories of faraway places. When I grow up, I tell her, I too will go to faraway places, and I will come back and live by the sea. That is all very well, said little Alice, says my aunt, but there's a third thing that you must do. Who remembers what that was that her father told us she had to do? The third thing, and what is that? You must do something to make the world more beautiful. All right, I say. I love these pictures. You could just look at them forever. But I do not know what that is yet, and I don't know what it might be. And you can see all of the children all looking at the lupins and gathering the lupins. So the reason that I like those pictures in that story, as you can see the pictures that are so pretty, is they painted those pictures. This person painted them, and they painted them in acrylics, which are really pretty, on a fabric. And maybe that's why they're so pretty, because it's almost like every picture is a painting, isn't it? So Miss Rumphius, did you like her? Did you like her auntie and what her mission was, what she was supposed to go out in the world to do? What can you do to make the world a beautiful place? Think about that. And I will too, and we'll see if we can come up with some things to make the world beautiful. Bye-bye.